Hello, welcome to the Mission Driven Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Thompson, an attorney, certified financial planner, and founder of a financial planning firm that serves LGBTQ entrepreneurs. I created this podcast to help mission-driven entrepreneurs build businesses that are both profitable and meaningful. On the show, you'll hear conversations from diverse entrepreneurs and experts who support small businesses in many, many ways. We'll talk about marketing, money, strategy, mindset, and what it really takes to build a business that aligns with your values and supports the life that you want. So whether you're just getting started or growing an established business, you're in the right place. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mission Driven Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Thompson, and I'm doing something a little different today. Instead of interviewing another entrepreneur, I'm sitting down with someone who has become an incredibly important part of my own business journey, my operations manager, Jesica Berger. Jessica and I worked together years ago as tax attorneys before reconnecting when my business reached a point where I knew I couldn't keep doing everything on my own. What started as conversations about business, growth, and work eventually turned into her joining the firm, first as a contractor, and now as my first full-time employee. In this conversation, we talk honestly about what it's really like to build a team for the first time. The excitement, the fear, the uncertainty, the communication challenges, and the trust required on both sides. We discuss the transition from colleague to employee, what it means to create systems and visibility inside a growing business, and why hiring isn't just about finding someone skilled. It's about finding alignment in values, communication, and the way you want to build together. We also talk about something that I think many entrepreneurs quietly struggle with, realizing when you become the bottleneck in your own business and learning how to let someone else in. This episode is less about having all the answers and more about pulling back the curtain on the messy human side of growth. If you're thinking about hiring your first employee, trying to become a better leader, or simply navigating change in your growing business, I think you'll find a lot to relate to in this episode. So with that, here's my conversation with Jessica. Hey, Jessica, welcome to the Mission Driven Business Podcast.
Hi, Brian. Thanks so much for having me.
This is an exciting thing for us. We are exciting and scary. I know we've talked about you being nervous about being in front of the scenes. Jessica is my operations manager, and we work together closely behind the scenes, but I thought it'd be fun to sort of flip the script and see, for entrepreneurs who are just building a team, what it's like to feel, what it's like to go through to find a new team member, hire a new team member, train a team member, and all the ups and downs that come along with that. So I appreciate you coming on to share with us.
I'm definitely a little bit scared, but I'm excited. And I'm used to talking to you, but I'm not used to talking to you in this type of forum. So it should be interesting. We'll see how it goes, I guess.
It'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. And it's just conversation. So we'll start where we always start. How would you define a mission-driven business?
So my view on this has evolved, definitely. I would say that my background is a tax lawyer, as you know. And so my very first tax court case was actually a hobby loss case. So I feel like I learned very early on that a business has to have profit motive. This was a fashion historian, and the IRS was trying to say that there was no profit motive to this business. And so I feel like that's ingrained in my brain that a business has to have a profit motive. But then with a mission-driven business, I think that the profit motive isn't the main driver of the business. My thoughts on this have also evolved because I realized I used to think that a mission-driven business had to be charitable in some way or to do good for the world.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it's actually more about being values aligned, both like internally and externally.
Yeah.
Even was thinking to myself, like, could you have a toxic waste dump and still be mission driven? And I'm like, possibly, like,
Yeah.
be, but it's I think that it's just more about not having profit be the main driver of the business and
Mhm.
having the business be based on the vision and values that it's based on.
That makes a lot of sense. It's profit motive, like we talked about. It has to have some sort of profit incentive, and it should, right? If you're trying to build a business that actually works and builds the life that you want, you need to make money. But that alignment piece, being aligned with your mission, vision, and values, and that is a curious question. Like, if you're aligned in your mission, vision, and values, but not doing public good, is that still a mission-driven business? Perhaps. Um, Luckily, we work with people who do want to do good, do want to have an impact on the world, and that's what I love about what we do. People who want a good life for themselves and a good life for other people. So it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned your tax attorney background. So how about we tell everybody a little bit about your history and your background, how you came into the world of being a tax lawyer turned operations manager?
Well, I would say that I've always been a numbers person. I've always loved spreadsheets and data. And I think that being a tax lawyer was a way of using that. Um, that I guess the what I like to do. But yeah, my dad, he's an attorney. He built one of the most prominent family law firms in the country. So I really looked up to him and thought that I wanted to be a lawyer. So I feel like combining my love for numbers and finances, but then also finding the lawyer piece in it was what brought me to be a tax lawyer.
Yeah.
It kind of put it all together for me.
Did you ever think about becoming a family law lawyer, or you sort of knew that that wasn't your skill set, especially if your dad has a firm already? I can imagine there being a pull to be like, oh, I'm just going to go work for my dad.
I didn't want to just work for my dad. I felt like I wanted to like prove to myself that I could pave my own way
Hmm.
and just joining my dad's firm almost felt like too easy and people would think of certain way about that and I didn't want to be that person. Like I just
Yeah.
that's not what I wanted for myself.
Yeah.
And then I also just like I didn't want to work for another firm. Like, I couldn't imagine doing family law and then not working for my dad's firm. That would also be crazy to me. So,
Yeah.
I never even took family law in law school. I just, like, put it as a thing that I'm like, "I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna
Hmm.
find something else to do."
Yeah. And I like that you then thought about, well, what do I like to do? What do I like to do and what am I good at? And obviously, I know that you were good at spreadsheets and numbers and putting things in order. So tax law makes sense. That's also the reason I fell in love with tax law. Is we are talking earlier with some prospective clients around business building being a puzzle and being able to like figure out all the pieces. And then to me, that's exactly what tax law is. It's this puzzle piece where there's laws and then there's exceptions and there's exceptions to exceptions. And you're just trying to figure out how to put all of it together. That's really fun for me. Okay. I can see the smile on your face. It's fun for you too.
I really, like, loved that and still love it because to me, it combines, um my love for numbers and spreadsheets and data and all of that, but there's also the people component to it and to make it all come together. So to do a case, you need to know the numbers, but the numbers aren't just these like abstract digits on paper. They have
Right.
to do with people and their lives and the things that they care about. And then to be able to use that information in order to be a good advocate for your client and to be able to explain like what's going on. It's like using the numbers, meeting the people. There's like the personal element, the data element, and then putting it all together. And
Yeah.
it's always been fun for me. It never got
Yeah.
boring.
That's a great point. And I call it the art and the science of planning, right? We deal in numbers and rules, but then that component of people's emotions, especially in tax law when people always came to us stressed and in trouble, and being able to navigate the complexity of them being in a stressful situation and you being the person that they're coming to. and having to hold space for everything that's going on in their life beyond the tax situation, the tax numbers. We have to be able to do both. What we do, not only in the tax law, but in this business, money affects people's lives. And it's a tool for people living the lives that they want. So we want to make sure that people understand we want the entirety of you. We want to know your vision, your mission, your values. But we also need to know the numbers so we can figure out how we're going to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So it sounds like you're in the right place. Before we get to you coming here, any background on how we met and then also how you transitioned from becoming a tax lawyer, a new tax lawyer, and then coming here?
Well, since this isn't just between you and I'll tell the whole world the story that I'd been out of law school a few years. I had practiced somewhere else previously, but when I joined the firm that we were together at, that was probably, I think, 2009 is when I joined there. And we worked together. I think we had figured out like around 7 or 8 years, somewhere in
Yeah.
that range, right?
7 years, right? I left in
7 years.
2016. Yep,
Okay.
2016 is when I left. So 7-ish years.
7-ish years.
Yeah.
And we worked together doing sort of similar roles, but with some nuances there, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you left and I stayed much longer because I was there almost 16 years. But
Wow.
we did a good job keeping in touch even after you left. I think we saw each other at least once a year, you know?
We saw each other. We talked on the phone. And I feel like a part of what I feel like is our shared history is that um, we used to work later hours. So we'd walk home together, right? We lived in the same neighborhood. He helped find me. He helped me and my ex husband find our place. Very We are very similar in how we think and how we like to relate. And I think that's what made us fast friends is that we liked exercising and working out and keeping track of numbers and being, we are, we are very much the same in that. And I still remember our walks home late at night when it's dark outside and walking you to the train station and walking across the tracks um,
Yeah.
and I tell people all the time that I don't know that I ever would have hired someone if it wasn't you, if I didn't know you already, if I didn't know who you were, I didn't have that foundation of trust. Um, because I've even learned now, just in the short time that we've been working together. I mean, it's almost a year at this point because he started off as a contractor and then came on full time at the beginning of the year. But it takes a lot of trust to hire someone and bring them into the fold and show them all of your systems and show them the flaws, show where you're the bottleneck. And I don't know that I could have done that with somebody I just met. I needed 7 years or whatever it is, almost 20 years of knowing somebody to be like, okay, I can bring somebody in and show them what this is. So you leave the firm and you come work for me. Did you have any reservations about us working together?
I do wanna just say that I'm sorry I didn't bring those points up that you brought up because they are really special, and we were really close, like,
Yeah,
as colleagues. We did spend a lot of times together, and I feel like we did get to know each other, like, really well and had so much in common always, right?
yeah,
So, I just think back on all of those really fondly, although it feels like a lifetime ago,
it does.
right?
Yeah.
Um, the question you just asked was if I had any reservations.
Hmm.
Well, I think that, like, you and I had talked about working together in, like, sort of fantasy land conversations for a long time. You would
Yeah.
say sometimes just, like, little you'd give me a little nugget, right? You'd just be like, "I think you'd really love the work that I do," or you'd be
Yeah.
really happy, or you'd be like, "Good," and we'd talk about it kinda like that. I think that overall, like, it was, like I said, sort of this fantasy land conversation. It didn't seem, like, real. And
Yeah.
then, I think that I'm nervous about change, right? I've been doing the same thing for a really long time,
Yeah.
and it was, and just the fear of the unknown. As far as, like, working with you, I remember you, like, once asked me, you're like, "Are you the same?" Like, I remember the type of worker that you used to be, but, like, a lot of time had passed and we hadn't worked together. We'd kept in
Right.
contact with each other, but like you didn't know me in a professional capacity for a while. And
Yeah.
you wanted to make sure that I was still like the same Jessica that you remembered.
Hmm.
And so I think that, one reservation I already hit on was just being nervous about taking a leap and making a change professionally and, going a different path. And then I really just didn't want to let you down. Like I
Mm.
didn't want you to take the risk on me and then it not be what you were thinking or hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the risk, right? That it may not work out. And we've talked about this several times because I know that is a huge, you and I are both people pleasers. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job and that people like us and that we don't disappoint people. Um, and having that fear of disappointing somebody or not working out is a shift that I've had to make in my mind, especially becoming a business owner, that even if I have a client relationship for a while and it ends, doesn't mean it was bad. Maybe it just ran its course. And being able to live in that gray area has been super hard as an entrepreneur, and even harder as we navigate this transition of like, all right, we're working together now. How's it going? Is it going to work out? Right? And I imagine you are asking yourself that often. Is that true?
I think I'm just always aware, like, am I doing a good enough job or the job that Brian, like, is he satisfied with what I'm doing, how I'm doing it? How's it going? Is it working?
Yeah.
You know, it's different to be working together again and in this capacity in a different
Right.
way that we used to work, and it's been a while. So I think that I do have an awareness around that and thoughts around that.
Yeah. And I think that really takes us to the the meat of what I really wanted to talk about is like, how do you navigate new hiring relationships, team building, and working together? And I think the foundational piece that we have and that we need is trust, like I talk about, and also communication. Um, right after tax season, we had a long conversation about, so how did it go? How did you feel? Um, and you talked about sort of having that worry in your mind about, well, am I disappointing him? And me saying to you, well, that's on me to express, right? If I'm resentful, if I'm disappointed, that's not on you to figure out. I should be clear. And so to me, communication is you can't read my mind. So if I'm feeling a certain way, I have to, number one, internalize that feeling, recognize that feeling, admit that feeling, and then express it to you if I feel like it needs to be expressed. And being able to make sure that I'm on top of my communication with you. And so you don't have to guess. I hope helps you feel better around having to figure out if you're doing a good job or if I'm being disappointed, right? Um, that communication piece and the trust piece of you trusting that I will actually say something is something that I don't think uh, you've experienced in a different way before. And because I am different from our old boss, having to navigate, all right, how does Brian work versus our old boss? Um, I imagine that's also very complex with you. We take a step back, right? We'll talk about the history. You came on as a contractor. You said, oh, I'm leaving the firm. I want to do this. I knew that you would like this, right? Because you and I are very similar. And I've always read that you shouldn't hire people that are similar to you because they'll likely want to do the same things for you. And we've learned that, yes, we're similar, but we don't have the same zone of genius. And so we figured out what each of our zone of genius is and what I don't want to do and what you like to do and how those sort of correspond to match. We went through that process of saying, all right, is this actually a good fit? And I think that was also important for us to say, what am I doing that you could do way better than me and more diligently than me? And is it something that you want to do for a long time? And figuring out that piece first and saying, okay, this seems like a good fit. Let's try it out. We tried it out for 6 months. And then it was working. And then it's like, okay, well, let's take the leap and do it full time. What was that process like for you and sort of the figuring out transition phase from you leaving the firm to you coming on as a contractor to you coming on full time? What did that feel like for you?
I mean, and I feel like, you know, everybody's situation's different. For me, I think I was grieving still in some ways because I had been at my firm for so long. And so I had a lot of emotions around that when I left. But I was also super excited to get to work with you and that you were giving me to me I felt like you were giving me a huge gift, like financial planning and even just the bookkeeping world and QuickBooks and stuff. It's always been something I've been interested in, but I don't have the same background because it hasn't been what I focused on in my work.
Hmm.
And you were giving me the opportunity to let me do that. And like you trusted that I could do that and do it well. And you were willing to take me on and to teach me. And I felt like that was an amazing opportunity. So I was like sad to for my old chapter to be closing, yet at the same time, super excited. And
Yeah.
then I mean, we talked about this before. It still was a lot of learning. And I think learning is fun, but it also can be uncomfortable. I went from doing the same thing for so many years that I got really, really competent and good at what I did. I mean,
I
competent,
was going to
like,
say, not competent is an understatement. You were
no,
very good at what you did.
thank you. And so I hadn't been in a situation of like learning and feeling uncomfortable. I mean, there would be cases that would come across my desk every now and then. It's not like I literally didn't learn anything new for, that many years, but
Yeah.
this has been a new experience of like lots of learning. But I mean, I love it. I loved it from the moment I was doing it. I've always loved it. It's
Yeah.
like honestly feels the same way for my brain, like, when I sit and just do a Sudoku, like, I just enjoy it. It's like giving
Yeah.
my brain a massage, like, I'm like, "Ooh, it's so fun, I love this."
Yeah.
And so, doing that transition just to join up with you was really exciting, scary, fun, sad in some ways, but all those other things, you
Yeah.
know, won out, and then, getting to be full time and joining as your first employee, it's really exciting. Like
Yeah.
and I feel honored, and I know that like our trust that we had and our history together made that possible. And I I've been enjoying it so much. Like I love the work, I love all of our clients, and I
Yeah.
love getting to interact and work with you and like let you be the one that is showing me all this stuff because you're
Yeah.
just I don't know, I just we do meetings sometimes and we get off the call and I'm like, "You're just amazing, Brian." I
I
love the
am amazing.
you are amazing. You are though. But like seriously, the way you'll say certain things or the way you can frame conversations or topics,
Yeah.
I love hearing the things that you say. I learn a lot from you. Really, I feel really a lot of gratitude.
Hmm. I'm always here for a stroke of my ego. So I appreciate you saying that. And I also appreciate that you said it was a mix of feelings, right? There was grief, there was fear, there's excitement, there's gratitude, there's happiness, there's hope. Um, all of that is also what I went through. And thinking, all right, am I going to hire my first person? I always get teased. Jim, another advisor friend that we both know, is teases me every time he sees me now. I went to a conference in May and was like, I'm never hiring anyone ever. And come June, you're working for me as a contractor. And come January, you're working for me full time. I was certain that I would not hire anyone for the rest of my career. Um, and the universe just sort of brought us together and it changed. And I think a part of that is what you said about, I knew that you would like this. I knew because of what I knew about your personality that it would be a good fit for you. I think that was also the key, not only the trust portion, but knowing that you would like this and that you'd be good at this. Um, I don't know how you find that out in an interview with somebody you don't know. And I think that's the tough part around hiring somebody that you don't know, that you're trying to figure out. Number one, are they going to like this? Number two, are they going to be good at this? And one or two rounds of interviews, like that seems impossible and scary to me. But I think those are two key components that you have to figure out when you're hiring somebody. Are they going to like this? Are they going to be good at this? And the third piece is it going to give me the lift that I need? Um, I was definitely over capacity, but I don't feel like I was drowning. Um, and then when we started working together, I saw how much of a bottleneck that I was. Um, that's also the hard part about this relationship is like I see the flaws in myself and my practice and what I'd built and thinking, oh my gosh, things weren't going as well as I thought they were. It's humbling, but also exciting to know that, okay, this is going to work because it's going to help both of us grow, right? It's not just for you. I heard you say gratitude and learning something different, but something that you loved. I'm also learning and growing as somebody who now has to train and supervise and build a firm that's not just me, not just for me, but for us. Um, so I'm also feeling that mix of emotions around what we build and how to figure out and navigate. Am I doing this right? I'm asking myself that all the time. And luckily, I have a business coach that I can talk to. Um, but it's uncertain. It's always gray. And I'm learning in an entirely different process of living in the gray. Uh, and I imagine from what I've experienced that you are feeling that same thing around like figuring it out, learning things, the humility around learning something and not being good at something. I know both of us don't like doing things that we're not good at. Uh, that's
True.
a part of the process. That's a part of the process. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm curious to hear more about then you're on full time. You're learning things. You're grateful for the opportunity. You're loving the work. What are some of the things that you've struggled with coming on as a full time employee?
Well, I think being your first employee,
Yeah.
it's it's a learning experience, right, for both of us. And I think that we've had to work through, like, I remember there was a period where I felt like I wasn't getting enough time, right?
Hmm.
Like I wanted to do a really great job. We were meeting with regularity, but I was still feeling like it wasn't enough to get me where I wanted to be, where I thought I needed to be. So that was something. It's like we have these challenges, but I think the communication piece is really important to be able to identify what the challenges are and then figure out how do we correct them and keep making positive moves forward. Um, so yeah, just being able to talk with you more, that was helpful. And just the other challenges, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like doing a dance. Like we're doing a dance and sometimes we'll like step on each other's feet a little bit or turn the
Yeah.
wrong way or bump each other awkwardly. And then we kind of do a reset and
Right.
carry on, right?
Yep. Yeah. Uh, it's sort of like finding our rhythm, is what my business coach said. We're still trying to find our rhythm and finding out which steps, who's going to lead, who's going to turn. I love the dance analogy too. Uh, and I think that's another piece around um, this process, right? We're learning each other. We're learning how to dance, especially for someone who's never had an employee before. We had to set up systems and processes and outlines of like, okay, this is what your job is now. This is where you want to go. We went through the entire process of trying to outline where we're going. And I think this is an important part of our discovery process for clients. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're headed, it's going to be impossible for you to make intentional moves. So setting the foundation of saying, all right, here's where we are. I have no employees. I'm doing everything myself. Here's where I want to go. Getting fully integrated, how many hours I want to work, how much money I want to make, being able to know those directions and get from one place to the other has been so important. And I think we did a good job of sort of outlining at least processes and systems. We're still doing that. Um, but being able to at least set expectations for each of us and saying, okay, is this going to work for both of us? Does that resonate with you?
Definitely. I do think we spent a long time. I mean, this is what you do professionally, so I feel
Yeah.
like you're good at kind of knowing that that same concept, right, that you use for your clients is what you use for yourself,
Yeah.
creating a vision, right?
Right.
What things should look like, and then figuring out how do we get there? What does that
Yeah.
path look like? And so it's nice because we have a lot of documents that we've put together on the role and the trajectory of the role and what I'll be doing at certain benchmarks of time.
Hmm.
And I pull those things up sometimes, like, when we hit the end of the first quarter, I checked the
Where
trajectory
am I? Yeah.
curious, like, how I was tracking and what we had said in the
Yeah.
beginning, and, like, was I going to be able to hit some of those benchmarks? And we did talk about that too, and talked about how, none of it is set in stone, and there's some fluidity to these things, and maybe we were overly ambitious with certain things or under ambitious with other things. But I think trying to formulate what that roadmap looks like and then making any necessary detours from there, that's what we've been doing. So,
Yeah. It's a part of the process, right? Of having a vision and going in a direction and knowing and having it be okay that it can change or that we will need to uh, iterate and build something different or go a different direction. Having that be okay, but still knowing where we're going or know what we want. We talked about having your thrive life, what income you want, what hours you want, not only for me, but for you. So we can make sure that we're going in a direction that is beneficial for both of us. Are there anything, this is a podcast about really strategies and tactics. So is there anything else that we did at the very beginning that you found helpful? We talked about trust. We talked about communication. We talked about outlining expectations for each of us and making sure that we're building towards something, making sure that you are aligned with what you like to do, what you're good at, what you want to do, and if that can help the firm in a way. Oh, sorry, you said the meetings too, right? Having more check-ins. That was a thing for me that my business coach had to remind me. She's like, your job is to make sure that she's trained correctly. So if we were meeting once a week and she said, well, maybe we'll try twice a week. And then during tax season, we were meeting 4 days a week, right? So um, you being able to express that to me and me being, okay, let me internalize this, take it to my business coach, and then figure out a system. I think that was also important. But I guess that's the communication piece. Anything else that's been helpful for you in sort of the transition?
I think that a big thing and a big change from you not having an employee to bringing me on and for it to be successful is visibility,
Mm,
and that's
mhm.
been something that's been important for my growth, and you've let me see behind the curtains, but I've had to sort of piece by piece being like, I didn't know that that even existed," and you're like, "Oh, yes, we give you access to that."
Yeah,
And questions, do we have, there's just like certain pieces of the business that I didn't know or understand. And so, creating logins on all the different systems and sharing with me some of the internal documents. And
yeah,
um, I'm sure for you, like you talked about humbling feelings or like letting me see around everywhere. It's been a place that you've never needed to share with anybody. It's been just for you and no one else
right.
has had to look at it, but then you've had to sort of share it with me to make things work.
Yep,
But I think that that visibility has been really important, so that I can see it all, because one of my jobs is to work on systems and workflows, and
yep,
uh, so that I think has been, uh,
yeah. That's a great point. Great point. And that's something that's been hard for me. Hard in a sense of I have a hard time trusting people. So, like I said before, not the fact that I've already trusted you helped with opening up and showing you the things that may not be the way that I want them, but also just from a piece of you being a mirror into knowing what I'm just keeping in my head because I didn't know that you wouldn't have access to these things or that these, like you said, that those things that you needed access to, you didn't have access to. And for you to just sort of be a reflection of, I don't know what this is or how this works, um, has helped me realize that there's been so much in my head around this practice. And if I'm really going to build a practice that is sustainable, that's not just me, having you as a fresh set of eyes has been super helpful to know that there are a lot of gaps in systems and processes and visibility, but also in knowing where I'm the bottleneck, and I'm the bottleneck now. So it happens. So lots and lots of things that have been helpful for you. Anything else that you feel like has been helpful for you in becoming integrated into the firm and becoming a better employee?
To me, having good communication, having a space to talk about things, both, like, we even name our meetings. We have check-in meetings and we have working meetings.
Yeah.
I think that both of those spaces are really important. Like,
Yeah.
working meetings are literally opportunities for us to do actual work together, show me
Hmm.
things, go over questions I have, move
Yeah.
things forward, and then check-in meetings being more a space to talk about how we're doing and
Yeah.
things like that. So, I feel like having both of those spaces is really important, and
Yeah.
being able to feel like I can talk to you openly and have conversations. I promised you, that was something else you made me promise at the beginning, openly communicate with you
Yeah.
that I wasn't sure about something, that I wanna just kinda sweep it under the rug. That was one of your fears, is that,
Hmm.
you would sort of lose your grip on the business in a way, or a piece of the business, maybe the bookkeeping, and then you'd look a few months later and it would all be a mess.
Be a
I mean, that
mess.
would never possibly happen because don't not look at things for that
Yeah.
long, but I think that, for us to be able to have that space,
Yeah.
uh, has been crucial, I
Yeah.
think.
For sure. The space and the communication, the honesty, the openness, the vulnerability. It also reminds me of that call that we had this morning around with the prospect of like, this is what makes good relationships. It's open honesty, being scared to say something and saying it anyway. Um, that us creating a space where we both feel comfortable to be vulnerable, to be open and honest and say, um, I don't know, or this isn't working, and not be so scared that it's going to end everything. Just being able to like, this is a space and we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Um, but that also takes some trust building, some foundation building and expectations building. Yeah, I feel like, and this is the reason sort of that I wanted to do this podcast, the visibility piece, the openness piece, the vulnerability piece, because it is hard for me to open up and say, I'm doing something new and learning a lot of new things, and everything isn't perfect, right? I'm a person that helps build businesses, and I'm building and changing my own, and it's not perfect. I step on your feet. I don't do things. I'm in a bad mood sometimes. Because I'm, for some reason, have not been getting sleep for the past few months. But all of that is okay. It's a part of building a business. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to show people that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be simple. There's going to be a mix of emotions, but there are certain things that you can do to help build the foundation the best that you can to get to where you want to be. And I feel like that's what we're learning.
I feel like we're lucky because we've had this deep well of trust and
Hmm.
history. I think something, since I just wanna, like, bring up this point, because I think that most people will end up needing or wanting to hire somebody for their companies, that they're not going to be so lucky, right?
Yeah.
They are going to have to make some decisions and conclusions about people after a couple interviews, right? That
Right.
is actually probably, like, more the real world.
Hmm.
So, if anybody's listening to this podcast and they're like, "Well, how do I hire my first person?" That, like,
Yeah.
our situation is so special and unique, and most
Yeah.
people don't get that opportunity. But
It's a very
maybe
great
what I'm
point.
also hearing, though, and what you've taught me, even from some of our meetings where I just want you to tell me that everything's gonna be okay and that it
Mm,
is going to work, and et
yeah.
cetera, is that sometimes it's okay to take that leap,
Right.
and that it may work out and it may not work out, and you make decisions based on the facts you have in front of you the best way that you can.
Mm,
And if it's works, then great. And if it doesn't, then you figure it out, right?
right.
So like for another company hiring, they're probably not going to have a Jessica that they're going to hire. Maybe they should be so lucky, right?
They should be so
But
lucky.
but if not, like it still can be okay. Like we see it all the time. We see it every week in meetings with our clients. I love hearing. It's just so interesting for me from my perspective when they talk about the people that they've hired and how it's going and what the decisions are. And I
Yeah.
try not to internalize it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to like speak to that for a minute.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great point, and I don't know that I know the answer, right? It's exactly what you said, that it's sometimes uncertain, and the foundational trust piece, I think, it is taking a risk and getting to know them the best that you can, and doing the best that you can with the information that you have, and taking the leap and seeing what happens, and being able to internalize, right? I think you said something about me assuring you that it's going to be okay, and I don't feel like I've done that. What I say to you is, it may not be, or it may be. We don't know. So instead of trying to figure out, let's just take the next right step and do what we can to make sure it's going to work out the best that it can.
right. No, that is
That's,
my point. You
yeah.
do not tell me it's going to be okay. And because who knows? I mean,
We don't
I
know.
hope it will, and I think it's
Yeah.
going well. You're like, it's we can look at today. We know
Right.
it's
Mm,
going well right now.
yeah.
That's my point is you don't tell me that it's going to be
Yeah.
okay, like, for because we don't know.
Right. And that's the piece that I always come back to for really anything, because my anxious mind goes to some very, very catastrophic, dark places. And so I have to say, well, how's it going now? How are you doing right now to bring me back to the present? That has been super helpful, a super helpful tool for me that maybe other people can benefit from. Instead of futurizing and trying to figure everything out, knowing where you want to go, setting the right foundation, saying, how are things going right now? Is there something that I can change right now? Or is there something um, that needs to change right now that we can then get closer to the direction that we want to go? Bringing myself back to the present has been super helpful. So that's a great point. Oh my gosh, we've been talking for almost 50 minutes. I was like, oh, this is going to be 30 to 40 minutes and we're not going to have to. I mean, I think this has been, I hope it's been helpful for people to know and hear that it's, hopefully you have some strategies and tactics around building an employee, but also knowing that it's going to be uncertain. I'm curious to hear, now that we have been talking with 50 minutes, are there any things that you're going to be thinking about after this podcast, after the recording, your takeaways from our time today?
Well, I hope it's helpful for other people to
Yeah.
hear our story. I think you and I are good at being open and honest with each
Hmm.
other and our feelings around things. Uh, I love about being present in the moment, and I think our minds are very similar, so I have to
Yeah.
remind myself too about those things. But it's a fun ride.
Yes. That was going to be my takeaway, right? That as stressful as as it has been, as anxiety producing, it's still very fun and exciting. And I'm grateful that I get to do it with you. I get grateful that I get to have the experience of 10 years into my business, getting to try something completely new and continue to push myself. I'm so grateful for this business and the opportunities it provides and the journey that it's been. And this new part of the journey is exciting for me. So my takeaway, it has been a fun ride so far, and I hope it continues. Um, who knows? But today it's fun. Today we got to record a podcast together, and I appreciate you coming on and being open and vulnerable. And I think it will be helpful for other people so they can hear our story and take some nuggets from it, some tools from it, and then go on their own journey.
Well, I couldn't have said it better as it typically happens,
Yeah.
and I'm, but I'm very much aligned with everything that you just said, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful and excited, and literally I'm smiling and beaming when I talk about what I get to do, and I I appreciate you having me as
Yeah,
your employee.
I appreciate you being here as an employee and coming on and being. I know this is a scary thing to do, so I appreciate you coming on the podcast too. Uh, and I guess we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for listening to the Mission Driven Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Thompson. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. And if you know another entrepreneur who could benefit from this conversation, please share it with them. Until next time, keep building a business that creates both profit and purpose.